Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Code to Winning. Insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. Today we have another amazing guest. We are in this beautiful city called Las Vegas. We are in Elvis' city, Sin City, whatever you name it. Again, a remarkable guest. I met him recently. Just to give you a brief introduction of who we have on our studio, or rather their event today, goes by the name of Turab. It's so funny how I remembered his name, but I'll share that a little later. So just to give you an introduction of Turab, he is an entrepreneur, philanthropist. He is an investor as well, from Pakistan, born in Pakistan, made in America. Beautiful story. And without further ado, our amazing guest, Turab.
How you doing, KG?
I'm doing well in yourself, boss.
Wonderful, man. Thank you for having me.
I was about to give a whole essay about your introduction about.
No, I mean, we'll just get into it, man. There's no problem.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was just telling you earlier on when we started how I remembered your name was like to rob a bank. You know what I'm saying?
Ridiculous, so you remember the same way I do.
So can you give our viewers and the people that are watching and listening just a brief introduction of pretty much who you are?
Well, so I was born in Pakistan. When I was about 4 years old, my family said, hey, there's a lot of corruption going on here. Actually, my mother said, hey, there's a lot of corruption going on here. The only way to really get ahead in life is to bribe someone to get into a position that you want to get into in life. You got to go and kind of pick your way around politics and all this. She's like, I want my kids to live an honest life. I want to make sure that they have a phenomenal environment to actually grow and become who they need to become. She used to tell me this this story of Alam Iqbal. He said he was kind of the originator of Pakistan in a lot of ways. He helped separate the Hindus and the Muslims because they were having a lot of conflicts at the time. And he said that, my people, you are not pigeons to be sitting on gravestones. You are meant to be eagles to fly above the mountains.
Wow.
And she repeated this to us time and time again. So we moved to Canada when when I was about 4 years old. My older brother was, I think, 3.5 years older than me. And we started working our way around. My dad's got a really comfy job with the government, and my mom immediately said to him, dude, what the hell are you doing? You're a top level engineer in Pakistan. You're one of the smartest people I know. You're not going to go and do a security job for the rest of your life. We're going to go and become really successful. We're going to make sure that we get our law degrees, we get our dental degree. My mom was a dentist in Pakistan.
Okay.
And so they started maneuvering, and years later, 4 years later, they had a really successful real estate practice. They used to throw parties every single week, knew a bunch of people, incredible relationships. My dad was studying to become a lawyer, and because of some previous injuries, he passed away when I was about 9 years old.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and it was very formative for me. It was
And
weird.
were you in Canada that time, or
I was in Canada. I was in the Mississauga area.
Okay.
And so my mom, being someone that was always future looking, but again, a widow at the time, very afraid of what's going to be happening, she said, you know what, your dad has 7 sisters that live in California. Let's move out of this place. She didn't want to be hemmed in by the philosophies and the relationships of the people that she had established with her husband, right? And being, someone that has tremendous faith in her ability, she moved to California. We stayed with our relatives for a little while. She realized that the philosophies are, something that she needs to get away and make her own way. Okay. And so she started traveling around the United States. We went to Louisiana, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York. We even spent some time in UK with her older brother.
Which part of the UK?
London proper,
Okay.
Right outside of London. And to be honest, I don't know the name of the town. But she, all of this moving around, she decided, no, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go and settle in Massachusetts, where my kids, Lexington, Massachusetts, about 20 minutes south of Boston. Moved around basically every 2 years. And in that entire process, I learned, what is the constant in life, right? When you're moving so much and when you're experiencing all these different personalities and your mom's kind of out of the house doing your type of thing, what is it that makes Turab, right? And so I read a lot of books. I had some really, really close friends. Right around my junior year of high school, I became a bit of an elitist. I went to Louisiana, and from Massachusetts, I went to Louisiana. It was just a different standard of education. right? And so I pinpointed a couple people in my classes that were older than me. One of the guys invited me back to his house, and lo and behold, every single one of the people that I pinpointed was in that room watching Pulp Fiction. And from there, I realized that, you know, they were they were astounded by I guess my worldliness and my ability to relate with them. And I realized how important it is to have people that kind of align with your philosophy, that
100%.
push you, that challenge you. I mean, they're all entrepreneurs in their own right, and they're seniors in high school. You know,
I love that so much.
one of them ended up becoming part of the Pentagon and doing all this other crazy stuff. I still have a book club with him. So I went to school in university in University of Amherst, which is in Western Massachusetts, one of the most beautiful places you'll ever go and
Was
see
that
in your
after you
life.
lived in Louisiana, or was that just like?
Well, it's a weird move. So I was for freshman year, I was in Massachusetts. Um, Sorry, for 7th and 8th grade, I was in Massachusetts.
Okay.
For freshman and sophomore year, I was in Connecticut. Then we moved to Louisiana, and then we went back to Massachusetts so I can reconnect with my middle school friends. After that, I struggled through college, and I explored my soul. I tried to figure out. I read a lot of books, a lot of philosophy, a lot of nature novels. Um, and my mom's like, "Why don't you try out dentistry, dude? Like what's the harm?" And I said, "Sure." And at the time, I had to rationalize. I was like, "I want to make my own way in ecology, whatever." And I realized ecology and dentistry have this overlap in microbiology, bacteria. They're essential components of our ecosystem and our lives. And so I got into that. I got into art. I was painting at the time. I was in a band. I was drumming and doing all this stuff. Went into dental school at Temple University in Philadelphia. I lived in North Philadelphia for about 4 years and did a lot of community organizing. Over the course of my education, also, I did a lot of club organizing. And I immediately, every single school that I went to, I was like, "I'm going to make this club and I'm going to make this thing happen." And so all of this kind of culminated in me understanding, first and foremost, you got to work your ass off if you want to be anywhere in life, right? Becoming a dentist in general requires a little bit of work, a little effort. I was still building and doing community organizing in North Philadelphia. And when I got out of school, I've now been working at my mother's practice for about a year and a half. I've tripled our gross revenue in that year and a half. And it's all because of this business knowledge and the stuff that I started ingesting after years of dental school and realizing that, you know, doctor in Latin means teacher. And our education system in general is not doing a great job allowing the most powerful people in society to manifest their ideas into their education system. And that leads to not actually being able to do that in real life. I believe,
Love that.
yeah,
I love that so much.
doctors in general can really be pillars in society, right? They're super educated, they're super connected, but if they just thought a little bit outside of the box, they could connect so many different elements and we would really have more flourishing society.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I mean, you've moved so much, and I know personally for myself, like I lived in the East Coast, New Jersey, did my internship in New York, did 2 internships in New York. One of them was remote, actually, in the financial district. I lived in California, the Bay Area, for about 3 years as well. The reason I'm sharing this thing, Utah and Idaho, sometimes moving so much, it's hard for you to settle down, put your, feet in the ground and start like figuring out the direction you want to kind of go for as well. Did that have the same effect on you when you kept moving so much than like trying to figure out like which trajectory you're going to be heading?
I think I knew that at some point life would slow down because my mom was an immigrant and I knew that she was studying, and at some point the studying would pay off and she'd become a dentist and she'd settle. And so in that process, I always thought to myself, what an absolute gift it is to travel, right? To like have these different groups of friends, to be able to recreate yourself. I think a lot of people that I talk to end up in the same town, in the same city for many, many years, and actually breaking free and having that creativity and that faith gets dwindled by the philosophies of the people around you, right? So that like, I see you a certain way and I expect you to be this way. And so that compounds on itself and it starts becoming a situation where it's like, maybe I am like that, you know? But in general, if we have a chance to move, get outside of our comfort zone, and we can explore and have different perspectives, then we can start seeing those constants. Then we can start seeing, okay, this is the shit I really like to do.
I love that so much. I love that so much. And so I want to figure out, I mean, was your mother a dentist in Pakistan before she came to America?
Absolutely.
Did she have to study again when she got here as well? I was about to say that because there's a gentleman that I'm going to interview when I get back to Salt Lake from Iran, qualified doctor, super amazing. But right now he's a nurse because he has to try and like study again. How did the procedure go for her? Like, did she just start from scratch, or how does that work?
So there's a tremendous process. I mean, immigrants in medicine in general don't get treated very well, and they're kind of used as like they're kind of used as like these slaves to do this research, right? They're like they have this experience, but it's not quite translatable entirely because they don't know the policies and procedures. So they kind of belittle their skill level. Some of them may be a little cocky, but like a lot of them are just like really just trying to fly under the radar and get their degree and just kind of like, dude, like leave me the fuck alone, you know? Like I'm just trying to provide for my family and have a good time. So that leads to like not wanting to speak out, not necessarily defending themselves in situations or like spending more time away from their family. So there's a lot of that, you know, like a lot of my high school career I spent alone. I made my own dinner, you know, I went to sleep at the time that I needed to go to sleep, wake up when I needed to wake up, and kind of go to school when I needed to go to school and finish my assignments. So it's, I think it was really hard for her. I think it was really, really hard for her because, you know, you want to see your kids, man. And when you're a widow, you know, how much love do you really have in life, especially when you're studying like that. And you know, like being an entrepreneur and really trying to get the most out of life, you know, you need those people that you can go and rest on for a second and be like, dude, I'm going through some shit, you know. And so she had a lot of friends from way back when. She had an old friend. To any of the immigrants watching this that are going through this, you know, rely on your old friends, rely on your old support system through this process. You need that, right? Because a mother can't go and tell her high school son what she's going through, right? But she might need to go and talk to that lady or that person in the back that knew them from birth and kind of like help them out of other hard situations. They have that moment to just sit and be like, dude, I'm going through some shit.
I love that so much. I love that so much. And so now, obviously, you studied in Philadelphia. You're not an Eagles fan, are you?
I'm not big into sports. I never got into that.
As long as you're not an Eagles fan, then we're fine then.
Well, I move so much, it's hard to be a fan, you know? I'm like, goddamn.
So, but you're a cricket fan?
So
Because Pakistan's good in cricket.
I do have
And when I was in New Jersey, when it was Pakistan versus India, New Jersey would shut down. Like
way.
it's big in New Jersey because there's the rivalry in the cricket. You know what I'm saying? And so like it was hard to tell like which side of New Jersey I was at, but like it's big on cricket. But sorry, continue.
So Imran Khan, who was the captain of the cricket team in Pakistan, actually became the prime minister in Pakistan.
Wow.
Right? So imagine this like superstar guy that turns into this incredibly humble, really like a white horse. Like when I think about all the people that have inspired me in my life, it's those people that spoke for the things that were the right thing to do, that took the action, that genuinely through and through followed through with the things that they were saying. And so that's where cricket kind of comes in my life. It's like, okay, this incredible player became the prime minister. He's actually locked up now. The government locked him up for about 3 years now.
What for?
Just for being an absolute advocate for Pakistan and actually getting it out of the corruption that it had. And the army locked him up, and he's been sitting there rotting in jail for about 3 years. And no one's talking about it. Like this person that spoke at the UN with so much force and conviction for not only Pakistan, for the Muslim world in a lot of realities. And you know, that's kind of some of the stuff that I think about in the back of my head as role models. You know, to what degree are you willing to be a martyr for your cause? You know, what do you really believe in? Are you willing to sacrifice those other things to get the mission across? And I think about that a lot in life.
So Pakistan is a lot of corruption, you'd say, because I know, like I said, I lived. One of the things that's a problem in this continent of Africa is corrupt leaders. You know, like Nigeria is the fourth largest producer of oil in the world, but there's nothing to account for it. You know, like South Africa, gold, diamonds, it's a little better than different counterparts of Africa because of just development and like investment, resource and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at Africa, how rich it is in terms of minerals and resources, and you look at the top leaders and the corruption that's affecting the continent, is it the same in Pakistan?
It hurts your heart, right? Like you know, I mean, they're your people, right? And you understand that they have the same soul and the drive and the love, you know. And I think what ends up happening to a lot of these countries is they never really had those strong role models allowed to speak out. It's a lot like, actually reminds me of school, almost like the military to some degree, right? They kind of like, this is the culture, you must be okay with that. And that the progressive thoughts, kind of some of these bigger nations, they come in and they step in and they don't allow those leaders to come up to actually uplift the people. And this has happened time and time again in Africa as well. And so, yeah, the corruption is just, it's really deep, you know. It's, you can, for those of you that don't know, that have lived in first world countries, right? The people that have money, they'll go and give it to the person that's the most corrupt and is powerful, and they'll make a phone call and you'll get your medical degree there, right? They'll make a phone call and you'll get your engineering degree there.
Wow.
Yeah, and you have no effort to put in, and you just kind of, you know, that person, and there you go. And what does that do to the workforce, right? Like you're still working in a workforce. Okay, fine. Your boss has made their position through corruption. How are you going to think about integrity and merit, right?
Wow. You know, I'm glad you kind of touched on that. I don't know how much you follow US politics. I don't really touch that on my podcast as much, but I don't know if you follow this certain candidate. I'm a big fan of his. He goes by the name of Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
He recently made a tweet in December time, and he was talking about just the work ethic of brown people when they come in the US. They obviously have a chip on their shoulder, and because of cultural norms and what they're used to, just paraphrasing, of course, that there's a certain level of work ethic to try and praise that, whereas like the American culture usually praises like your prom kings and queens, your football quarterbacks as well. Would you say that has kind of been the drive to why usually people like in that part of Asia, India, Pakistan, so forth, usually push for the engineering, mathematician, science, maths? Do you think that's the drive? What's the drive behind why they're so successful in that field?
I think there's a lot of merit to convincing your children to go and take on something difficult, right? Because at the end of the day, as you know, right, when you don't have that sense of difficulty and that you have to triumph, and that it's a forced process, right? Like, you don't want to necessarily do this thing, but you're forcing yourself to do all this work to get this carrot. Now, what that teaches you, what that taught me, and the reason that I agreed to go to dental school, my mother said, because I have a really good relationship with her. I mean, she's like my mom and my dad and kind of my sister, you know, and like we get to have those cool conversations. She's actually here in Vegas, so I'll probably hang out with her tomorrow morning at the Sphere. I said to myself, I'm willing to go into dentistry just to prove to myself that I can compete with the smartest people in the
I love that.
right?
I love that.
Like who else would fucking do that, right? Okay, fine, you care about the service, you care about the money, but for me it was always, can I do the work? Can I learn the things, and can I still retain who I am as a human being?
That's so powerful. And how long were you a dentist?
So I'm still practicing, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually practice 6 days a week despite all the other shit that I do.
Private practice?
Yeah, so I mean I work with my mother. So I'm
Finally, something to do. Here we go, guys. I got my own dentist, by the way.
come on down, dude. I mean, you know,
KG and the G's for Dracula.
I love it. Dracula is actually one of my favorite villains of all time. So I remember asking one of my teachers in dental school, what's your favorite tooth? She was this really attractive lady, you know, she's like, the canine. I was like, she's like, what's your favorite tooth? I was like, the canine. So, yeah, man, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I've used that as a tremendous capital raiser. And if there's anyone that's like watching this, that's in their 20s and is wondering, you know, if you have a parent business or like family business and whether or not to go into it, you know, why not, right? At the end of the day, like, if you don't know what you want to do, at least go and work your ass off and learn from the people that love you the most, right? You have all this safety, this security, build up your treasure trove, read the stuff on the side, you know, and figure, and take the risks. When you're young, take the risk, throw out the money and invest in the things, or go and start your own personal brand and, you know, network and feel it all out, because you have 10 plus years. You can literally, Gary Vee, right? He advocates for this all the time. You can literally fuck up your life for like 20 years. Mike Rowe, right? People that we've heard at this conference, at 10X GrowthCon. You can fuck up for 10, 15 years. Dude, you're totally fine. As long as you're learning what it is that you really want to do and who you are as a person, I mean, there's no replacement for that.
I love that. I love that. And speaking about that, I'm different. You know, the only problem I have as well sometimes with the field of entrepreneurship is that they usually sometimes belittle so much of school and getting an education. So one of my favorite entrepreneurs is Cody Sanchez. You know, so Cody Sanchez, MBA, Ivy League school girl, Goldman Sachs, but she's an entrepreneur. So she's book smart, but street smart. And even like her new, I think Main Street or like Main Street Millionaire. So I love entrepreneurs that value the essence and the importance of education. And the reason I want to touch a bit about that is sometimes when somebody has let's say a 10th grade and they become successful, I acknowledge it, I praise it, I'm like, I'm good for you. But I'm at the point where like you can always continue gaining in education and building yourself. Yes, we know there's a variety of different courses. Like I'm in financial economics, like BYU, United. And I'm planning to try and get an MBA while still following and pursuing my entrepreneurial field as well. I feel education is just as important, because the more you open up your mind and gaining those soft skills while also applying the entrepreneurial hard skills, they can go hand in hand and actually become better for you as a human being and as an entrepreneur. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first and foremost, I can tell when people have that discipline in them, right? There's a little bit of you do the thing that you're gonna say you're gonna do, right? That's what it is. I'm gonna get my fucking degree. I'm getting it, right? There you go, win. There's very few things in life that are gonna give you the wins that are prescribed by education, right? So you get your degree, you got your win. In entrepreneurship, it's a lot harder. You have to actually make the money. You actually have to go and get the contract. There's nothing spelled out for you. And so when it comes to having that educational background, someone put it to me really, because I used to, all throughout school, I bashed on education quite a bit, right? I didn't like the way it was standardized. I didn't like the lack of freedom I had. Someone said, and I was like, well, people can just be fine without the high school career or a high school degree. And this guy looked at me, he's from Pakistan. He's like, Turab, I don't think you understand the difference between someone that has had a standardized education and someone that doesn't. They don't know what words to use, right? They don't know basic grammar stuff. They don't know basic history stuff. They don't have the role models that you have because they didn't get to study about that stuff, right? And so to me, yeah, there's a tremendous place for education. The fact that for kids that get bored in school, they have sports, right? They have all these extra things for people that need that support. Now, there's a lot we need to change as a country, and a lot of what I'm doing in my life right now is actually aiming towards that in a lot of ways. But I say, listen, if you don't know what to do, at least get educated, right? Like go and do the shit. I don't care if you hate your math teacher. You don't hate the knowledge in their head. You need to know how to do math.
I love that.
Right? So just swallow your pride, go through the motions. And actually, one of the people that I met in Louisiana, David Falarin, is a big role model of mine. He was the one that did all this random shit on the side on top of being the valedictorian of the school, right? And he said to me, he was like, that A that you don't get right now translates to you not getting that contract later, right? That work, you not waking up in the morning and showing up late to class translates to you losing that connection. So it all plays in.
I love that so much, and that's why I'm enjoying this interview, because when I never even knew you're still practicing. The fact that you're still practicing, and you have a non-profit, and you become an investor. I don't know who I was talking to, and then right now the topic is a little controversial with obviously Elon Musk. But I was telling a friend that I have no excuse if I text somebody and they don't respond in 2 hours, because Elon Musk is landing a rocket ship. He's at the White House, he's playing with little kid X, and he's tweeting 100 times in 1 hour. So there is no excuse. You can find time. And I made a
What a phenomenal role model we have. Let me just stop you there. Like, can you imagine not having that person for humanity?
You know where he's born?
South Africa. You badass.
Continue, brother.
I just wanted to stop you there and just acknowledge, like, a lot of people hate him, but dude, what a phenomenal role model for humanity, right? Like, look, you're inspired by him, I'm inspired by him. Oh, these generations of kids are gonna be like, who is this Elon Musk guy? Like, how did he do this thing?
Modern day Iron Man.
It's insane.
So, and I think, and that's one thing somebody once asked me, hey, KG, what's the difference between all the entrepreneurs that you've interviewed, like between those that have got like 9 figures and those that are startups? And I say, there's only one big difference I've noticed. They value time more. In other words, like everything is calculated to the T. Like whenever I invite a guest over for a podcast in Utah, whenever they have like $100 million, they usually arrive 30 minutes before because everything of it is calculated. Everything, they value time, they're early, they're never ever late. I've never had somebody that's extremely successful late for a podcast. And that tells me a lot because everything is just calculated within their time. Obviously 15 minutes before, not necessarily 30. But like, small stuff like that I want to pick up. I want to see how they eat. I want to see how they talk. I want to see how they do so. I want to see the posture. I learn. I try to look at the dictionary. I try to like immerse myself in how they interact with people, how they talk. Of course, Elon is a little different. Elon is 20 years ahead of us. So when he's doing all these weird stuff with his hand, I'm trying to like, what am I doing with my hand?
How am I even supposed to learn from that? Do I have the right level of, do I need to put on some glasses? Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I wanted to share that. So I appreciate that you value education while still being an entrepreneur as well, and an investor. So I love that about you, by the way.
It's my pleasure. And the reality is, dude, I couldn't do the dentistry if I wasn't doing the other stuff. And I think people need to understand that too. If there is a desire in you to go and make that community organization, to go and start that business, whatever, your job first and foremost is to have the capital to be able to support you through that process, right? If there's 2 different paths to the entrepreneur. There's the one that quits everything and goes for 100%, right? That's probably the most efficient path in honestly the minority of situations, right? The one, however, that's holding on to that career and making sure that they have the money that they need and they're supporting what their parents or what their community needs of them while they put a little bit away here, a little bit here, and build up over time until it strengthens to the point where you have, where you're balancing that income. I think it's a much more responsible way to go about being an entrepreneur.
I love that. I love that so much. Now, my favorite topic, like I said, the code to winning, we've been focusing a lot on entrepreneurship, investors as well. Now, I consider you extremely successful. However, you started recently as well. So I want to try and figure out what made you now say, okay, fine, I'm going to still practice, but let's pursue the entrepreneurial journey. Let's segue towards that specific trajectory and that path as well. What was that for you?
So I had some mentors, and they basically, the ones that I respected didn't just do dentistry, right? They had other shit going on, whether it was like their life, they go on vacations, whatever, or like they were part of something bigger. And the reality is, dentistry in particular is one of those careers, it has the highest suicide rate, one of the highest suicide rates in all careers ever.
Wall Street?
It's probably right up there. I think it's 1 or 2, literally. Besides, maybe air traffic controllers are up there too. But the reason is you're looking at these millimeters, right? You're literally wearing binoculars all day. You're in someone's mouth. Everyone comes in super stressed out. I hate the dentist 20 times a day, when a new patient comes in, right? That's a lot of emotional and physical stress on someone. So the reason that I have to do the entrepreneurship stuff is also because I realize, why am I being an employee when I really want to be a boss? Dentists and doctors in general will get out of school and assume that they're going to make a lot of money and they're going to do it on their own terms. But if you haven't learned what is required to make a company function, you'll never do it on your own terms. So to some degree, it's a requirement for a doctor or a dentist to pursue entrepreneurship in order to learn what is a business finance, what are the taxations involved, how do I form partnerships, what are lateral businesses that are going to make my business actually more efficient and able to impact more people, right? It's a must. It's a must. Or if you want, and you don't have that leadership mentality in you, then you can be an employee for the rest of your life. But just realize that a W-2 is very, very different than owning an LLC. The contracts, the taxation code, it's not built for the person that is okay with having someone else control everything they do.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's one of the things I love about America. Somebody asked me what's the difference between like the United States and South Africa, perhaps. America is the capital of capitalism. Like your potential for growth. There is a market. This is a consumer's market as well. There's so much potential in the United States that can't be found in other countries as well. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
That's arguable because then we're talking about humanity, right?
I'm talking about economy. I'm talking about economy. I'm talking about like it's a consumer's market where you can go out there and knock doors and sell something for like $100,000 a year. That market is very much like capitalism of like the United States, where I can go in my country and I can be successful in my country. I can be extremely successful. I'm just saying I have no sympathy for anyone here because of just market opportunity is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, I see my practice is Medicaid practice. So I see people that are going through addiction. I see people that are going through all of like the baseline problems of humanity that lead to the societies that we have, right? The ones where the vast majority of people aren't making all that much of a difference, and then they complain about the people that are making a difference and actually getting paid for it. So, but I have to have a lot of empathy and sympathy for that. And my personal brand, Turabify, is all about actually giving people the little tools, little disciplines that can make all the difference and actually turn them into useful members of their community and their families, you know?
I love that so much. And again, like there's a lot of problems that America's facing. There's a obesity crisis, there's a depression crisis, there are just so many different components that it's just not talked about enough. You know what I'm saying? Like a high suicide rate. There is just a lot of unhappiness happening, you know, which I think is affecting this fast pace that seems to be happening where everything is onto the next, onto the next, onto the next, that you're never really satisfied with what you really have. And sometimes you have way more than most people around the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so where does satisfaction come in? I mean, where does satisfaction come in for you?
KG Musk.
Yeah, right. Dude, the amount of conversations that I've had with people that are like, I want to be a billionaire. Right? Every single person, including myself, probably yourself too, right? There is now this different standard for how to get out of the rat race. And you have to set your vision so high so that you push yourself and all the time push yourself. After $250,000 a year, your lifestyle is really not going to change. And the reason is because you're not going to have the time to use the fucking money. You're going to be doing too much work. You're too important after that point. Right? So then it comes on to the individual. I went to Ty Lopez's mansion party, and he was saying, do you guys, all of you guys want to be billionaires, right? And like a lot of the room said that. He's like, do you know what it takes to be a billionaire? Do you understand what you have to do? How many billionaires have bodies in their closets? You know?
Billionaires are divorced and unhappy.
Yeah. And so it really falls down to like the level of impact. Yes, we should aim to impact millions of people. We should aim to do it with virtue, and we should aim to do it wisely. But we need to realize that the degree to where we can do that depends on how much we've developed ourselves and how much we've loved and how much we've given to other people, right? It's a process, it's a grind, but at the end of the day, what are you going to do? You're gonna either hate your life, hate your career, or do it all in tandem and build it up slowly.
Awesome stuff. I just have two questions as we conclude right now. I know that you're an investor and you're a philanthropist as well. What are the important components that you look at a potential entrepreneur or a business before you actually make the crucial investment?
To me, it's all about who is running the business, right? The leader. Because the way that I've invested so far is to invest in a startup. And the startup for me is something that needs to grow. It has a lot of these components that I need to learn myself, right? But I'm a little bit further along because I have an established dental business. I understand the little components of a business that are required, and I'm using it as a tool to actually educate myself at the end of the day. So when it comes to an investment, I always think to myself, why would you want to invest in something that, first of all, you don't believe in, that's only about the money, and third of all, something that you don't need, something that doesn't build onto your lateral business, right? So I think those are things to consider. Does the person that you're investing in have integrity? Do they have the ability to learn? Are they teachable, right? Do they have the same values as you in terms of how they treat people and what they intend to build? So I will never invest in something where I don't genuinely believe in the human values that it is imbuing. Now, there's a return on investment, there's the amount of time that it takes, right, to actually make that investment a reality. But dude, there is no greater return on investment than being able to sleep at night and knowing that you're making a difference in the world. There is no better return on investment. Because I'm a dentist, dude. I could be a dentist for the rest of my life and I do totally fine for myself, right? But my mission is to make a difference in society. I want to educate people about their oral health as much as I want to do about their personal development. But everyone that I work with needs to understand that vision. It doesn't matter if they're starting out from the bottom. The other thing about investing in a startup, when it comes down to it, you need to realize, going back to that thing, even if someone fucks up for 10 years, if they're learning every single day for those 10 years, the amount of business owners that you've probably met that have failed in 10 businesses, 5 to 10, 15 businesses, right, have made infinite mistakes. What's the thing that holds all of them accountable? It's the consistency. It's the unwillingness to give up, the unwavering potential of just saying, you know what, dude, I'm gonna lose money, I'm gonna lose friends, I'm gonna lose sleep, but I don't give a single shit because I know in my heart of hearts that I'm going to succeed. If I find that, there is no greater investment than that, because that will last forever.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for that, boss. I always ask the question to all my guests as we conclude. I loved the title of my podcast, The Code to Winning, insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. And, Grant always asks people, what's 10x to you? But like for you, what is the definition of winning?
Dude, winning is telling the world that you're going to do something and then doing it. And knowing in your heart of hearts that you were very, very, very much responsible for that win. If that's that contract, that first contract that you need to get, and you just ripped calls and you hit the doors and you did whatever the hell you had to do to get that contract, that's a win, right? If it's telling your wife or your girlfriend that you love them and them saying, yeah, you did show up to my weird art thing that I'm making, or you did buy me that dinner that I wanted, or you listened to that one time that I said I wanted this piece of jewelry, whatever, and you gave that to me, that's a win, right? It's staying true to your word and executing. That's a win.
Powerful. Wow, the code to winning, insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. Can you let the viewers know where they can get a hold of you? Website, potentially reaching out to learn about your business, whatever it may be. Can you just let them know, like Instagram handles and so?
Yeah, it's my name with IFY at the end. I was lazy about it. I was like, I like Spotify, My name means soil. So if you look up TURABIFY on Instagram, TikTok, wherever, you can find me. I'm in a stage of growing right now. I'm always looking for friends and partners, always looking for amazing opportunities like this. Dude, literally reach out with a DM, hit me up, and you'd be surprised. We probably get on a call very soon. Take care of yourself, and also actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you.
The code to winning, insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. Turab, great honor, boss. Thank you so much.